In 1972, two reporters, Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, were investigating the break-in to the Democratic National Headquarters. Little did they know, their 2-year investigation would lead them to the White House and ultimately reveal one of the greatest political scandals in American history, known as Watergate. This scandal could not have been uncovered without the help of confidential and anonymous sources. However, the government came close to stopping the entire investigation by subpoenaing the Washington Post. Eventually, the charges were dropped, and the Post was able to continue with its historical investigation, but the issue of the subpoena of journalists continues to be a hotly debated issue. Are journalists entitled to certain privileges and immunities that allow them to refuse to testify to the names of their sources if called on by the government? Or are they just regular people who should follow the same laws as everyone else? We interviewed Dean Lucy Dalglish at the Merrill College of Journalism at the University of Maryland to answer this question.
Which we call it a reporter's privilege. And that privilege actually is invoked by the reporter as a way of encouraging sources and other people with information to come forward and share what they know. And by doing this, we often get information that the public might not otherwise get. So, for example, if you are finding out about major corruption in government and the sources might not come forward and give you that information, if they know that you as a reporter are going to turn around and share the information about their identity to either prosecutors or defense counsel. You never quite know when you're doing a story who might want that information.
If anonymous sources did not feel comfortable talking to reporters, democracy as we know it would cease to exist. As both a watchdog of the government and a source of information for the people, the press must be free from government control.
The other reason for allowing a reporter's privilege is to provide independence for a journalist. People are not going to want to talk to you if you are perceived as being an agent of the government or an agent of the plaintiff or an agent of the defense in a civil case. If people know that you're not going to identify them or that you're going to keep their information confidential, then you have a reputation as an independent reporter that cannot be bought or influenced by, a prosecutor, by a defense attorney, or anyone else in a government agency that wants you to turn over information to them. So it's basically a way of keeping information flowing to the public.
Shortly before the Committee for the Re-election of the President, also known as CREEP, subpoenaed the Washington Post through the Justice Department, the Supreme Court recognized in Branzburg v. Hayes that reporters had a constitutional qualified privilege to not reveal sources.
Basically said, look, there is a First Amendment right to publish, and there are circumstances in which reporters obviously should be offered some protection. That is not the case here. This is a situation where we need to know who these bad guys are, and so there is no privilege here. But that decision has been construed across the country in most federal appeals courts to provide a basic level of protection, and so that you have to make a showing that it's relevant and that there's no other way to get the information. So it's a qualified privilege.
In Branzburg v. Hayes, the Supreme Court recognized that reporters do have some First Amendment protection to not disclose their sources, and without it, freedom of the press could be eviscerated. However, this constitutional privilege is only a qualified privilege and cannot adequately protect reporters and their sources. To further their protection, we need a federal shield law, which could allow sources to come forth with information more easily.
In our society, there are certain types of people who do not have to share information that they receive from clients or constituents or people like that. And we offer that privilege so that people will share information and get the help they need. So patients have a right not to have their doctors share information. Doctors don't have to testify in court. There is an attorney-client privilege. There is a clergy privilege, so that if you're Catholic and you go to confession, a priest cannot be forced to tell law enforcement or anyone else what you said in the confessional.
Shield laws, which exist in 40 out of the 50 states and the District of Columbia, provide journalists some protection when it comes to testifying in court. However, due to the many exceptions in these shield laws, such as requiring journalists to testify if the information is prevalent, these shield laws are inadequate. In order to protect free press and the public's right to know, a federal shield law must be enacted.